Hi everyone, my name's Peter, and yes, I'm from the Samsung Internet Web Browser team. If some of you were in the previous session to this one, you will have heard a bit of an overview about the Samsung Internet Web Browser and many of the features in it. This talk is focusing more on the security and privacy aspects. So some of the features that Samsung Internet has available and some of the features that you can take advantage of as developers. In a few minutes, my colleague Mahesh will be talking about web payments and how you can integrate Samsung Pay to take payments online. But first, a few other features that are to do with security and privacy online and how the Samsung Internet Browser has got your back. So we'll start with HTTPS, a core feature of the web. HTTPS, as you may know, protects us from man-in-the-middle attacks that could potentially hijack the pages that we're looking at and even read the data that we input on those pages online. So the Samsung Internet Browser, of course, has the padlock symbol in the URL bar, which shows when you're viewing a secure site. We also have our progressive web app plus icon there in the URL bar. And this, if you heard in the last session about progressive web apps, essentially they are bringing some of the great features of native apps to the web. And progressive web apps, like many new and powerful web features, require HTTPS. Another example of a powerful API that requires HTTPS is web payments, which we'll hear more about very soon as well. Did you know, though, that you can use Samsung Pass to log into websites? This is a neat feature for saving you time online. Samsung Pass is our identity management service that enables secure access through biometric authentication. And I think, let us risk doing a little live demo, especially risking with our tricky lighting conditions, and we'll see if we can show you this. So first of all, let me just log in the first place. So, let's switch over to our demo screen. So just to show you how this works and how nice and easy it is, if I go to log in on the Samsung website here, it brings up a little prompt to use my fingerprints or my irises. And if I hold this up, can you still see that? Tricky. Oh, of course it would happen, wouldn't it, when you're showing it live? So let's try one more time. And the nice thing is, even if there is just a problem with the camera being in the way, I can always use the fingerprint sensor as well. Although that time I pressed the back button accidentally, which I didn't want to do.
Just make it.
And then finally, let's try that again. Oh.
Hold it closer.
Oh, no. Okay. I reckon one more time, just because. Sorry about this, everyone. The trouble with live demos, isn't it? Maybe in the recording we can skip this bit. Okay, let's try one more time. There we go, finally. Sorry about that. So what I wanted to show is that once it's got my iris scan, which hopefully you will have a slightly easier setup in real life, I didn't have to then touch anything else. I didn't have to press the submit button. It automatically logged me in, and the rest happened straight away. So this is a nice feature for frictionless interactions on mobile, but it's not just mobile. If I switch back to the slides, you can see that Samsung DeX also brings this same experience to the desktop. So DeX, as you probably have seen, is our dock that lets you plug in a Samsung S8 or Note 8 phone, along with a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor, and it gives you a desktop experience powered by your mobile phone. And Samsung Internet works in desktop mode really nicely. It's the same browser that we know and love, hopefully, from mobile, but extended out into being a fully fledged desktop application. And I'll just show you now a video to show you how Samsung Pass works on here as well. So in this case, we're on the desktop website, but it works the same way. We go to sign in, and then we got the iris scan. And then, so you can just look at the phone in the dock, and then without having to press anything else, we're logged in. If you save your credentials in this way, they're encrypted and stored securely by Samsung Pass. And if you use your Samsung account, you can sync those to your multiple devices. You can also, in the Samsung Pass settings on your phone, edit those credentials anytime you like afterwards. Another feature we have that's related to security is our integration with Knox. Knox is our defense-grade security system that works right down to the hardware level, giving you tamper-proof, secure separation of your organization's data. And enterprise IT teams can use this to define the browser settings and the extensions that are available for Samsung Internet running inside the secure Knox container. Next up is our supercharged private browsing mode, secret mode. Secret mode is more secure than the incognito and private modes that you might find in some other browsers because it requires authentication to even actually switch over to it in the first place. And like Samsung Pass, we can secure that with our biometrics. So when you use secret mode, none of your browsing history is saved. It's completely clean for anyone who else might pick up your phone afterwards. And you can also optionally save your pages and bookmarks in Samsung Pass, in secret mode, so that they will only be available for you. And those are secured with Knox, so they're stored separately, securely. But we're not stopping there. We are announcing today our new tracking blocker, which is a built-in extension, and it's available from our new version 6.2 release, which is going out in the next few days. The tracking blocker blocks invisible trackers that could monitor our online activity. Unfortunately, we know that some websites include these invisible trackers, and some of them are even malicious. The tracking blocker is enabled by default in secret mode, further enhancing your privacy. And the filter for the tracking blocker is provided by Disconnect, the industry-leading privacy protection company. So we would like to thank Disconnect for the collaboration. Another kind of extension that we have in Samsung Internet are content blocker extensions. And these are optional third-party apps that you can use to block annoying adverts and unwanted content on pages. This means that you have a faster, safer, and visibly more streamlined web browsing experience. And it can even save your data usage and your battery life on your phone. Your privacy is our priority, so of course none of your browsing and history data is shared with these third parties. Another kind of extension that we also offer is content provider extension, which lets you surface up contextual relevant information based on the page you're viewing. So if you're interested in learning more about developing your own extensions, there's a link here, developersamsung.com/internet Android extension guide, and you can go there to find out more information about developing these yourselves. And if you have any ideas that you'd like to discuss, then please let us know. So these have been a few features that we are using to share how we're really wanting to keep you safe online, and we're looking after your security and your privacy. I hope you can tell that it's a top priority for us. Now, though, I am going to hand you over to Mahesh to talk about how you can develop secure payments online using web payments.
Thank you, Peter. Hello everyone, thanks for coming to SDC. My name is Mahesh Kulkarni, I'm a product manager for Samsung Internet. Like you just heard from my colleague Peter here, web on mobile especially, has made a great progress in last couple of years. Great features like push notification, offline browsing, background refresh, and easily opening web pages from your home page. These are all the features that were reserved to native apps a year ago are now all available on the web. So you could take advantage of all this with the new progressive web app that probably you heard from the last session. So go back and check it out, it's pretty cool. And browsers have got a lot smarter as well. Now browsers can help you remove some of the friction points like you just saw with Samsung Pass, Samsung Internet helping you easily log into websites and securely log into websites. However, one particular area where web has kind of lagged behind is how you buy things online. That experience has always been below par, and I'm here today to talk about how we're going to improve it. Let's start with some market size. So you probably all know mobile commerce is a huge market. It's 150 billion in US alone this year. And what's very interesting out of this is 66% of these mobile commerce purchases happen on mobile web. 2/3 of purchases, they're happening on mobile web. And that's 100 billion plus market there alone this year, and it's constantly growing, right? Samsung, however, mobile web browsing is already taken over desktop browsing. What I mean by that is web traffic, entire web traffic is now happens more on mobile phones than they happen on desktop. So 54% of the web traffic happens through mobile browser now versus 41% of desktop. However, contradicting to that number, the conversion rate of how you buy things online is 2/3 lower. So only 1/3 of the mobile web users complete their purchase versus 2/3 of the desktop browsers. So 66% lower conversion rate. So why is that? That's something wrong there, right? So why is that? Let's see why. So how's the buying experience on mobile looks like today? Right? So other day I was looking for a charger for my Dell laptop, which always breaks. And finally, after searching for some time, I found the right charger I was ready to buy. First thing I had to start, as you all know, start with the add to cart, and I did that. And then it took me to the next page, and I had to click on, OK, start checkout. All right. And the next page I was presented is, hey, you have to log in to our site. Of course, I didn't have an account with them, so I had to create a new account. So I entered all this information on this tiny screen, and I said, OK, let's create an account. And I'm hoping now I'm done, right? I'm done finally. I'm ready. Of course not. Now again, there are a bunch of other information I had to enter, which is, where do I deliver this? This is a physical good, obviously. So I need a shipping address. I enter all these details one by one on a tiny screen, tiny keyboard, getting frustrated already, right? And then I finish adding all these details, and I'm like, finally, let's click. Again, there are more steps. I'm not done, right? I pick up the shipping option I want to buy, and I have to enter payment information, the most important part. So I go find my credit card, finally manage to get it, and then enter all the details, finally ready to place the order. So it took me, I don't even know how many clicks, but 8 page loads to buy this on my mobile phone. And what happens here is, like, I would have dropped out from any one of those steps, right? It's just too many steps to finish. But this is what it takes to finish the checkout today. And this is not a bad website. This is one of the top merchants in the US, right? This is not like they've not done a good job. They have done a good job. This is the number of steps they need to finish before you buy something online, right? So before I go forward, let me stop here and ask you all, how many of you have abandoned buying on your mobile web while doing one of these steps? You can raise your hands. See that? Thank you. So that's exactly what happens, and there's so many steps, and you're not alone. So these are the stats, top stats of why people abandon buying something online. People just don't like to create an online account while buying something. They don't like to enter too many long forms. And some particular users don't like to provide their payment information to websites. They just don't trust the website, right? So these are some of the top reasons why they abandon buying something online. So this is the reason why a conversion on mobile is that bad, right? But some of you might ask, how about autofill? Great, autofills are great. They save a lot of time, in fact, 30% of users' time, because they don't have to enter all the same details again and again that they probably have entered before. It saves them definitely time, but there are problems with autofill too. It doesn't work on all websites. There are some sites are not built well, or it's just not, browsers don't detect accurate enough, and you may have to retype some of these things that might have done a wrong job or a bad job filling. But even though it saved some time typing, it's still too many clicks. I still had to click multiple times, too many web pages. I still had to load if I had to buy my AC adapter using this feature. But what's interesting is this support has been there. Every major browser supports autofill, and this feature has been live since 2005. So it's been more than a decade. Autofill exists on the browsers and mobile web. That hasn't solved conversion problem, right? The conversion problem still exists. So what that tells us is autofill's great, but not the answer to make conversion rate better on mobile. So what is the answer? We like to think it's payment request API. So you're going to hear a lot more about payment request API, deep dive into the API and understand how it works. But first, what is payment request API? Payment request API is a cross-browser, cross-platform, standard JavaScript API. What that means is the APIs are built into all major browsers. What that API provides is a native payment sheet, native as in browsers provided payment sheet for website checkouts. So this is a one-page, single-page native checkout page for the websites to complete the checkout, right? We'll dig deep into that, but the key point here is it's a single-page checkout experience, right? So you have everything you need to buy something online in one sheet. So you don't have to go through this 8 different web pages that I just went through to buy the AC adapter. All right. Before we talk more, let's again risk our live demo and see how it works. All right. And I have to change that. Cool. So I'm on Samsung Internet. So I go to one of the sample sites that we built for this demo. It's a pretty standard site, a site with a bunch of products in it. You can browse through each site and look at the prices, and they're all beautiful. I want every one of them. But for now, let me buy a wireless charger. You never have enough of those. So what you see here is the websites gives me two options. I can add it to cart or buy now. So this is one of the good example of a good designed website. User steps into your site. They want to buy a product. All I want to do today is just buy that wireless charger. Just like all I wanted to do was buy that AC adapter, and I had to go through these 100 steps. So always, it's a great idea always to give buy now. So let them finish checkout just that product, if that's all they wanted to do. If they want to add more stuff, obviously they can go to add to cart and take the next steps. So now let's see what happens when I buy now. Then I click on buy now. This is where the payment request API kicks in. Okay, so the native UI shows up. So this is the standard browser native UI. Sorry, it's a bit blurry. I don't know if you can read all of this, but I'll try to explain. So this payment sheet that pulled up from the bottom is by browsers. So each browser, major browsers, would show this UI when you call payment request API, and they'll show a bunch of information starting with, say, your logo, the merchant logo, merchant URL here, and your order summary, like what am I trying to buy, shipping address, payment, contact information. So let's look at order summary. So what it has in order summary is my total money. I have to pay $40. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let's see here. But it has other items. It's showing me if I have any discounts applied on top of it, or if there is a shipping charges on it. Fortunately, there is not on this site. So then I can pick up a shipping address where I want to ship. I have a couple of addresses, the Samsung office in Mountain View, and then there is one in HQ, that's our headquarters. So I picked my shipping option, and merchant, after picking a shipping address, what happens when I pick a shipping address is browser gives them a call back to merchant site and tells them, hey, this is the address user wants this item to be shipped. Now merchants have a chance to run through that address, check if they support sending to that, shipping to that address first place, or what does it cost when you ship to that address. So once they determine that cost, they can populate the list in shipping options. But it's all again happening through the same single checkout sheet, but the information is going out and coming in from the website. The browser is not deciding this stuff, right? So merchant is telling, these are my shipping options if user wants to ship here. So the standard shipping is free. I want to do express shipping. So notice when I pick the express shipping, the total changed to $50. I don't know if you can, and you can see in the details section that the shipping cost is $10. It shows exactly what it's going to cost to buy this. And now you can notice the browser also picked the payment, a card on file. So when most browsers, including Samsung Internet, saves your card securely in, again, our defense-grade security Knox containers. So when you buy something online and traditional checkout, you enter a credit card number on the browser offers you to save it. It's your choice. User opts in to save it. If they do, it gets in. It's only stored on the device and in Knox. So it's securely stored for you on Samsung Internet. And it also shows my contact information that I might have entered before somewhere in the browser. So what is the theme here? What am I trying to get here is let browser help you. Browser knows a lot about the user. Browser knows what address they buy things on. Browser knows what payment method you use. Browser knows your email ID and contact number. So let browser help you and help complete your checkout seamlessly, right? So let's say all I have to do after all this, all I have to do is I picked all the default items that I want to buy, and then I click on pay. The only thing user have to remember, hopefully, is the CVV. So it's a test card, so I don't mind showing you my CVV. Okay. Okay, good. Did detect. That's it. So all I had to do is authenticate. Enter my CVV, authenticate, because Samsung Internet makes sure it's you who are buying before they hand over the card data to the website. And that's it. So payment is complete. Website said, yes, thank you, your checkout complete. What just happened here, however, this is the first time a user visited your website. This is the first time I'm visiting that website, right? The website had absolutely no information about me. It doesn't know my shipping address. It doesn't have an account with me. It just doesn't know anything about me. But with single purchase, I just clicked on buy now, authenticated once, and once you finish the authentication, at that moment, everything you saw on the payment sheet, shipping address, email IDs, payment information, including CVV, card number, expiry date, is put into a package, a JSON object, and it's given back to the website in one go. That's it. It's that simple. Everything comes as a package back to the website in one purchase, and now all the website have to do is they have everything they need to know about me, and optionally, they can ask me, hey, we know everything we need to know about you. Do you want to create an account? Just enter a password. And that's it. If I enter a password and sign up, now they have an account that I created for it, right? So I think this is a great way of creating a checkout experience with as less as friction possible, so you don't force users to create an account before they buy something, right? You get all this information here. So let's look at what happens. So that's the experience you saw on mobile. You're not just stopping there. You can do exactly that on DeX as well. So there are always users. I know some of you might say, I don't want to buy on my mobile. I just love buying on my desktop or a laptop. I want to do a complete research before I buy. I want to search in 10 different sites, and it takes just too much time on my mobile. Well, we have covered those users as well. All you have to do is have a DeX adapter, and then just take your phone. Your same exact checkout session continues. So you don't have to reload the page, you don't have to re-log into anything. It's exact seamless experience continues to DeX. And you click on buy, your exact payment sheet shows up. You look at your phone when you click on pay, and that's all you have to do. So this is magical, really works great. How does it work? Let's dig a bit deeper into the API and see how does it work. What does that merchants have to do? It's extremely simple. First, you start by defining a payment method object. So what a payment method object is, it basically asks merchants to define what are the payment types they support. In this case, the website you just saw, it supports basic cards. So what you can also filter that basic card in a second level and say which network you support. If website only supports Visa and MasterCard, you can only mention those, and browser knows which cards to show up, right? In the same payment methods, the basic card is one of the, it's a standard checkout with taking your credit card number like you do today. And the payment there are different payment methods that we'll get into, and I'll show you how that works. So the first step is just define a payment methods. Second, you define your card. So what's the total? The only two things that you have to give is the total of your checkout is, I'm buying this Note 8 and it's $999. And you can also specify the currency of what currency you're buying in. If it's Australian dollar, you can say that. If it's Korean, US, in this case it's US, right? So define these two things. And step 3 is creating the payment request object. So you create the payment request object, pass in the payment methods and details object you just created, and there's a third option. It's optional. And the third object, what to do with the third object, we'll get back to a little bit later. After you create the payment request object successfully, just call show. So this is the point when browser native payment sheet shows up, when the show API is called, right? So show returns a promise, and a promise is waiting to be resolved until user completes their checkout on the native payment sheet, until the user enters the CVV, shipping address, pick up everything. Once user hits pay and authenticates the payment, the show resolves, and in the response object that you get here is the package, JSON package I was telling you. This is the one which will have everything you need to know about that payment, about the card, the user data, the shipping address, the billing address, everything comes as a JSON response in that response. And this is the step where typically developers would check the payment, process the payment, give this information to their processors, gateways, and say complete the checkout, get my money, right? The last step you have to do is call complete on that response object. This tells browser that you verified the payment and you got the money, and browser can hide the payment sheet. So this is where browser hides the payment sheet and merchant can show order complete and order success. Optionally, there's another API. It's called can make payment. You don't have to use that, but it's an optional API. It's a very handy API. If so far the user experience hasn't convinced you to switch to payment request immediately, this is a very handy API. What this does is it returns true or false, simple, based on if user has a payment method set up on your browser. For example, if this is the first time I'm browsing, first time I open a browser, first time I go to a website, I don't have a credit card saved in the browser. So what happens in that case, when you call show, is browser shows an empty payment sheet, asks user to, hey, enter a card, enter a shipping address, right? So you could call that API to make sure if user has a card on file, can browser support me to complete this checkout without friction? Is all data available? And all it does is returns true or false, and browser says, yes, I have a card, and it returns true. And if it does, you can continue calling show there. If browser says, I don't have a card, and if it's your choice, then you can go back to your traditional 8 or 10 steps checkout. So that's the use of can make payment API. And if you remember the third object we talked about, payment request, when you're creating payment request object, it's to provide shipping and user information. So the third parameter, options, gives you, it's a browser, let me rephrase. The third options is for merchants to tell browser what information they need from the browser, what information they need from the user. For example, if you set request shipping to true, that basically means, say, you have a physical good to send. So if you need a shipping address to send that to, then you set that object to true. Or it's a digital good, you don't need the shipping address, you can set that to false, right? And that's one less friction for the user again. They don't have to enter the address. And the other, if you need users' personal information, like their email ID, phone number, and name, you can set those also true or false. And browser shows those details on the payment sheet for user to enter. So this is basically a way browser make sure they get an acknowledgement from the user to share this data back to merchant, right? So these are optional things that merchant can set. And optionally, like you saw, when I pick a shipping address, merchants get to verify, see if they support it, and in the details object, they can pass shipping object. That's a shipping object in another standard parameter that you can define list of shipping options you support. In this case, it's ground shipping or drone shipping. And pass that options and details object while creating payment request object. It's that simple. So this is all configurable, managed by merchant developers, what they want to use. And everything you just saw, payment request API, it's available today. It's not something under development. It's not something coming soon. It's already available on all of these major browsers. Samsung, along with every single major browsers here, from last 2 years, we worked with W3C Group to standardize these APIs across the browser. Today, I'm very happy to announce that Samsung Pay is coming to web payments. So you can soon pay with Samsung Pay on Samsung Internet for buying something online. Samsung Pay is a convenient, secure, seamless way of buying something online. At launch, Samsung Pay is going to work both on Chrome and Samsung Internet, and you will be able to soon try on one of our partners and pay with Samsung Pay on those partners. We'd like to thank all of our partners for the collaboration and working with us on this. So let's see a quick demo how it works. So let me go to one of the merchant site powered by Shopify. Oops. Thank you, Peter. So Shopify is an e-commerce aggregator. So they provide a platform for merchants to create websites and complete e-commerce solution. I'd like to use this opportunity and thank Shopify for working with us continuously in the development process. So this is one of the merchant site and typical experience, right? So you go on, okay, I'm ready to buy. Vegetarian, but I always wanted to try one of this and see if it would switch me from vegetarian. So let's see if I want to buy this. I add to the cart, click on checkout. So traditional checkout screen. So it's showing me my cart, all the items that I want to buy, and I click on checkout. So now what you see here is browser payment sheet showing you the total order is $1, and it already picked Samsung Pay as a default payment method because I have a Samsung Pay setup. I have a card on Samsung Pay, I have a Samsung Pay setup. If I didn't, it wouldn't show up there. So it would just show if they have a card on file, right? Now I'm ready to buy. All I have to do is select a shipping address. So again, I have two addresses here. One Samsung office in Mountain View and one in Suwon, our headquarters. So let's see what happens if I pick Suwon. What you can see here is I pick Suwon, and like I said, browser sends this request back to merchant and asks, hey, do you support this? So Shopify verified this, and they said, no, we cannot ship $1 item to South Korea, right? And it tells browser back that, no, this is not an address that I'm going to support. So browser shows up this error, unsupported shipping address, please select a different shipping, and it hides or disables my other address. Now I picked my Mountain View address, and it just worked, right? Now, next thing it shows me is a list of shipping options. So great, it's free to ship. I pick the shipping option, and all I have to do is click on Pay. At this point, Samsung Pay is launched, and all you have to do, one single step, is authenticate. So of course, you have more information here. It makes sure it shows what is the merchant. So you probably can't see. It shows more details of the merchant and make sure who your payment is going to. And only step user have to do here is authenticate. So let me authenticate. Okay. Let's hope it works. There you go. So now Samsung Pay authenticated the payment. The payment information is given back to merchant. Merchant is verifying if payment works, and it did. And Samsung Pay also sent me a notification that your payment just went through. So this is the receipt of what you bought online. And at this point, like you again see here, merchant can say, hey, you can log in. I got your payment. I got all the information I need. If you want, you can create an account or log in. Let me go back to webs.
We have 5 minutes till the end of session.
Okay.
If you want to take any questions.
Make it quick. So why support Samsung Pay? So other than the cool experience you just saw, it's seamless, extremely simple. So Samsung Pay provides a simple, frictionless checkout. Of course, what you saw is I didn't even have to enter a CVV number. Just all I had to do is authenticate, and payment completed or checkout completed. Samsung Pay is the most widely accepted digital wallet. So what that means is it's thanks to its support for NFC, MST, it's most accepted digital wallet out there. And very important point, it's pre-installed on most Galaxy devices. So it's most likely available for paying, right? But I'd like to say the most important point you should support Samsung Pay is for the security. When you use or support Samsung Pay on your website, you're getting the payment as a token information. So it's not a card payment. What that means is you don't have to handle the raw card number, PAN number. You don't have to store the PAN numbers. And because it's tokenized payment, it protects you and the users from intercepts and relay attacks. And you can pick a payment processor or gateway of your choice. So probably dying to ask, so how do I integrate Samsung Pay on my site? Again, very simple. It's a 3-step process. First, you register as a partner on Samsung Pay partner portal. And in the partner portal, you choose or provide more information of what payment gateway is currently you're supporting. You choose either one of the two options, direct or indirect. In a direct method, what a direct method is, when user completes authentication on the phone, the payload comes back to the merchant, and merchant hands over the payload back to their whatever of payment gateway of their choices. In the indirect case, Samsung Pay hands over the payload after authentication to your gateway. So you don't have to do that job either. And your gateway directly notifies you if then they receive the payment. And the third step you have to do is, if you remember the payment methods object on the right there, when we used the last example, it used only basic cards. So you define Samsung Pay payment method. This is you define it through a URL identifier like that. And you provide few details in the data section, like a product ID, which you get, by the way, when you register as a partner portal. And same things, like you can say which network you support, you give a merchant name that shows up on the payment sheet, and few optional things like merchant gateway parameter, which you will learn when you pick up one of these direct, indirect payment methods. And you can easily debug paying and testing Samsung Pay when you pass the debug key, and you get the debug key when you onboard on the Samsung portal. Optionally, you can use can make payment, again, like I just explained before, on Samsung Pay, and it returns true or false if Samsung Pay set up on your phone, if user has a card on the file that supports one of your networks. If it returns true, you can use Samsung Pay. If not, you can always fall back to your traditional checkout. So it doesn't affect your existing checkout flow by making sure of that. To learn more, to get started, you can visit that link. It has more information in it, and you'll also hear more in coming weeks about how to integrate Samsung Pay. Follow us on that link. With that, I'd like to ask if there are any questions about this, and we have already one.
Good presentation. Thank you, Mahesh. So when the merchant uses the direct method to integrate, meaning he's handling the payload, right, and sending it off to the gateway, does the card on file type of payload, is it encrypted, or does the merchant actually get the raw card number?
So when user pays with the card on Samsung Pay never stores the card number. So when you first add a card to Samsung Pay, it tokenizes the card. So it talks to bank, it tokenizes the card, it knows the token information about the card, and it throws away the card number. So there's no card number. When you choose direct pay, the token information you get, the payload you get, does not have card number in it. So it's going to be a...
For the example of card on file.
So the two demos you saw, one is the card on file, which was card that browser saved. So that's a browser saved local card number. So in that case, merchant gets a card number, just like you would imagine entering it on a form field. But if you choose to use Samsung Pay, which I said is the biggest advantage, is the security. You don't have to get the card number. So Samsung Pay gives you a payload that you can pass to your... Okay. It doesn't have card number.
Yeah, that I know. Okay, cool. Thanks.
So I believe that the payment API and the Samsung Pay do not depend on any kind of like device-specific things. Like, is it possible to use the payment API and Samsung Pay on some Samsung smart TVs?
Today, it's only, I think, available only on the Galaxy devices and Gear VR. I don't have information on the roadmap of whether it will be available on the other devices like TV, or if you're talking about a cross-device experience that you have Samsung Pay on your phone, you buy something with a TV, it's potentially possible, but not. I think it's not on roadmap yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so no more questions. Thank you guys for attending the session. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed yourself. And then also, please make sure to exit on the left and make sure to pick up your eco session bag on your way out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.